Welcome to the Idaho Business Podcast, where we talk with local entrepreneurs, share motivation, network with one another, and pick up a tip or two on how not to burn your business to the ground. I'm your host, Spencer Ward. All right, everyone. Well, welcome back to the show. We are pleasured to be joined by Jenna Nelson. She is the founder of an AI business, and I'm going to not wreck the name, but it's HerAIgency. So HerAIgency. So and she's been in this space for many years. But before we get into all that, let's take a quick time out for our sponsors. We have Health West, great organization, great people. Give them a try. Closest to you. Google where they're closest to you. They're all throughout Idaho, and even outside of Idaho now. And go in there and give them a holler. We're also sponsored by my company, New Clean Commercial Cleaning. If you need any janitorial services needs through Rexburg all the way to Twin Falls, we are your people. Call us at 208-254-7070. Okay, well, Jenna, she's been in, for over a decade of experience in branding, consulting, and she has a deep expertise in event industry, and she's seen firsthand how the right tools can transform a business. So in 2025, she launched this AI agency and a platform dedicated to helping founders harness AI and automation to grow sustainably while staying true to their unique vision. I love that. So welcome, Jenna.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah. So I'm sure there's many people that are going to be interested in this episode, obviously, because AI is just the hot topic right now. They either think it's going to take care of over the world and eliminate all the jobs, or they're thinking, how do I use AI to transform my business and make it more efficient?
Sure.
Is that what you're running into when you're talking to people?
Absolutely. I think there is. I think there's almost two buckets, right? It's like, this is the savior. This is going to change everything. It's going to make everything easy. Or there's total fear of it. And it's like, I don't want it to take over. I don't want, my customers to not trust me because they know we're using AI. So I think there is sort of, two buckets there. And honestly, the answer lies, kind of somewhere in between, realistically. Certainly I think there are a lot of fears that may be a little overblown and maybe unfounded. This is, for the most part, not trying to take over your business. We're not talking about, just letting AI run wild with your content or your customers or anything like that. And that's why really, finding someone to work with that does, help you implement a strategy for it and, implement it in kind of safe, proven ways is really, kind of my recommended starting point, because it is, there is a bit, risk there. Obviously, you don't want to alienate your audience. You don't want to tick off your customers, with bad AI practices. So the goal is really to, evaluate each business where they're at and see, what are the ways we can adopt AI that are going to be helpful, not only to your internal processes, because that's usually where I like to start. Let's dip our toes in the water on the back end of things before we put it, in front of customers. But then also, I think there are a lot of really great use cases for customer-facing AI. And, a lot of those fears are, well, people don't want to talk to AI. And it's like, well, maybe, but also a lot of times what they want is efficiency, and they want their problem solved, and they want to get their appointment booked. And if you can do that more efficiently for them with AI, then I think people are more open to it than, some businesses may think, just from a high level standpoint.
I agree. And with the economy how it is in the last, several years, how, there's been rising costs of just doing business.
Sure.
I think everyone's going to be forced into, let's utilize some of this to cut some costs.
Absolutely.
It may eliminate a job here and there, or maybe it's just a part-time situation, but man, how much more efficient could you be? And maybe it's just making your life a lot more easier.
Sure.
Yeah, I think that's key at this point. So
Absolutely.
So
And I think, the takeaway there too is what can you free your people up to do with their big brains, right? When we take away some
yeah,
of the, kind of tedious, manual tasks, instead of, replacing them, can you elevate them to do more within your
sure.
organization? Can you give them more creativity and freedom to do things that really move the needle? So I think that's always kind of my argument against, oh, it's going to take all the jobs. It's like, it doesn't have to take the jobs. It just might need to change the jobs a little bit as well.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. What are can you give us a few tidbits that you're like, these are some exciting things that many companies and businesses are using to elevate themselves? Like a few different tools that you're excited about.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the top one right now, particularly for businesses, is kind of that lead intake system. And
Hmm.
there's a variety of ways to do that. It could be voice AI, it could be a conversation bot, it could be something really customized to your business that like walks them through maybe, some pre-qualification steps and things like that. But I think those are really great starting points because it does two things. One, right, it is reducing your manual workload of answering the phone or vetting leads and categorizing them or routing them to the right department maybe.
Hmm.
So I think that's really relevant. But then on the client side of things or the customer side of things, it creates an initial brand experience and a brand touch point that they might not otherwise get. I work with a lot of smaller law firms, and they don't have somebody to live answer the phone 24/7 or even during
Yeah,
business hours. Right. It's two attorneys and a paralegal and an admin, and they're missing calls. And so those are rolling to voicemail, and then they're getting back to people when they can. And there's nothing wrong with that process. We've used that process for years. But what we can do now is we can get them, to a voice AI agent who can walk them through some pre-qualification to find out if they're even in the right place. I can't
yeah,
tell you how many bankruptcy attorneys get calls for family law or criminal
sure.
law or something completely out of scope. And that's not only wasting your time on the business side, it's wasting the potential client's time too, because they're
Yeah,
going down a rabbit hole that's not even right for them.
that's true.
So I think what's great there is we can do some of that pre-qualification, but get them that immediate brand touch point of here's who we are, here's what we do, kind of set expectations
Yeah,
and get them to the next step in the process a lot faster. So instead of waiting 48 hours for somebody to call them back, we're getting them a text message link right away of here's our intake form. This is the fastest way to get your case reviewed. And, somebody from our team will follow up in 24 to 48 hours. So you're not kind of leaving people waiting, right? Because we all
yeah,
know speed to lead is extremely important, and they're likely to pick up the phone and call the next person who
that's
will
right.
answer. So maybe you're stopping that right there. Like, okay, they've got my info, they're working on it. And maybe you don't lose the lead that way. So
Yep,
that's one of the most exciting use cases I think out there for businesses, particularly small teams. I think this
sure.
can be so effective.
Cool. I agree. Like time kills deals.
It
If
does.
you let things marinate, it just kills deals.
It
Either
does.
operational, if you have a complaint with a client, or if it's a phone call going unanswered, time kills deals all the
Sure.
time. So,
Sure. Absolutely.
well, I like that. With our companies, yeah, we're dabbling. We have a few things with AI. We have some chatbots and stuff like that. Um, and we actually use the phones. We have a phone system now. I don't know if you've heard of Open Phone. I think they just
Yes.
did recently.
Yep.
So we've used that for over a year or so now, and then they're just coming out with this AI receptionist and all this kind of stuff. How are you? How are you? Do you see people? Are they going along with AI, or do you feel like we're still trying to adapt, or you see people that once a phone is answered by an AI agent, are they just turned off and they hanging up, or what are the trends you're seeing here?
I think right now we're kind of in that adoption phase. I think we've moved a little past early adoption. I think we're right in the meat of it right now. I think there are some people that hear AI and are like, whoa, no, hands off. But I think that's becoming less and less over time. And I think, in particular, we're seeing more and more businesses adopt it, and therefore it's becoming more normal, right?
Sure.
When you first started getting text message links at the doctor to fill out your intake information, you were probably like, what is this? Why am I being handed an iPad?
Yeah.
What am I, why am I taking
witchcraft here?
Exactly. Why am I taking a picture of my ID? Right. But it took some time for us to get on board with that. And now that's a very standard process. So I think that's where we're at and where we're headed. And I think what's really relevant there is this is the most important place to say there is good AI and there's bad, untrained AI. And the more we're, careful about what kind of AI we're putting out there, where in our systems we're adopting it and where we're not, the more trust we're going to earn there. And so I don't think, I haven't found anyone who's implemented it who's just like, okay, I lost all my customers. Everybody was like, nope, don't want to use that. Like, I have not seen that. I don't think that's what's happening. But certainly you have to know your audience and your clientele, right? Like if you're working, with a much older generation, they might be way less receptive versus, if you're working with college students or millennials, far more receptive. So I think knowing your audience and your market, and then again, training it so well that it feels like a part of your brand experience is really what's very, very important for that adoption phase.
Do you see, or there's a difference of adoption phase between white collar and blue collar?
A little bit. I definitely think there's some of that. I think it's more about the industry than it is anything else. I think there's certainly, I see tons of adoption of AI really easily on things like, home services, right? Like if you're looking to schedule a plumbing appointment or a roofing contractor, most people are fine to do that through a conversation bot or they don't necessarily need to talk to the roofer before they get to their house. So I think there's tons of adoption there. On the other, flip side of the coin, on those maybe white collar, type of industries, you often have, people who are more, involved in technology already and already living with it. So they're more likely to just adopt it as well. So I think it's really industry specific. I think, we're getting the most pushback maybe in things like medical. There's still some pushback there because obviously we're dealing with sensitive topics and things that feel like they need a human, and maybe they do, maybe they don't, just depends. But I think those are the areas that are still a little, wishy-washy. Certainly anything involving children, I'm personally very let's be very, very careful about how we're letting kids interact with it. Sometimes I even, my daughter likes to run upstairs and complain to Alexa about me or her brother or whatever it might be. And I'm kind of like, I don't know if I want AI giving her life advice. I don't know where I feel about that. So there's certainly some sticky areas where maybe we're not quite there yet. But I think, again, it's just dependent on your industry and your audience. And ultimately, my biggest feeling is if you are solving the problem for them faster, efficiently, and with the same level of service that you've already had, I think that's a great use case for AI regardless, right? Like if you can do it faster and better, let's do it,
Sure. So pretty much with it, and this is the question, is I have tasks within my company. I'm saying this because I know there's so many other business owners listening. They're thinking, this is me. I have a lot of tasks in my business that I'm like, okay, this is every week or every month, I'm doing the same thing over and over again. Those are the tasks where AI really excels.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Anything that's like a manual, repetitive process, Absolutely. Like that's the first place you can start. And that's often like where I start with a new business is like, some people come to me and they're like ready to dive in with 2 feet and 2 hands. And they're like, let's AI everything. And it's like, we'll get there maybe, but like, let's one thing at a time, right? Like,
Sure.
let's protect the brand here. But I always say like, what is that one thing that's just bottlenecking the business? What is one thing that you're like, man, if I could get rid of that, or if I could take that off my plate, particularly with like founders and business owners, I'm like, if this is something you are doing and you don't need to be doing it yourself anymore, let's start there, right? That's a great, like, I don't need a business owner up at 3 a.m. doing these manual repetitive tasks. That's not helpful. So I say, look for that highest impact workflow, something that's just repeatable, easy. It doesn't even need to be easy, just repeatable. Really, that's the key with AI. If it's got a consistent system, we can interject AI in there and kind of take that over. So it's a great initial starting point for sure.
I can see, because I just had a building built, and I can listen to my different contractors, the subcontractors. I wasn't the GC on it, but I have a GC. But I look at them and their processes, and they're great people, great contractors. But I'm thinking, what can make your life easier? Because I've been looking into AI more and more. But a lot of these people are thinking, well, I've got to be there in my team every morning and schedule them all out and all that kind of stuff, so they know where they're going. I'm like, that could probably be something for AI. AI could know your workload.
Absolutely.
Or, I've been good about like delegating things off of me as the founder and owner, but then I hand them off to other people. Like, hey, here's our office manager over here, or this kind of stuff. But then I could free up their time even by like, hey, we don't need you to go in there and manually send a gift card to each person on their birthday. That AI could probably do that.
Absolutely. That would be a great use case for it, for sure.
Okay. Well, this is great. I'm hoping, everyone who's listening, they're thinking, holy smokes, I better be talking to Jenna here, because she could be giving me a lot of good, advice and just ideas of how to, advance your business along. So,
absolutely.
Is there, as we kind of wind this episode down for a minute, what's something that's been new to AI that's really exciting you right now?
I think honestly, just the video generation capabilities, particularly for like B-roll or stock video. It's really, we're a very video first world right now. There's a lot of searches based around video. That's how I know a lot of people, and I'm one of them, that might go to YouTube first to find out how to do something. But we can use a lot of these really great video generation tools now to kind of increase the production quality of these videos and add that kind of B-roll footage and clean up videos a lot faster, so we can get more content out and get it to a broader audience, which I think is really important. I'm not trying to replace video editors for high impact, videos, but if you need to get, a quick 30-second explainer video out on a new product or a new feature, right? Like, instead of waiting 30, 60 days to get that filmed, edited, etc., you can get to market so much faster now with some of these video editing tools. So that's one of the ones that has come a long way in the last year. Voice AI has come a long way, and video has come a long way in the last year. And I'm excited to kind of see how that keeps trending in that direction, because I think the faster you can get that content out, the more content you can get out, the more visible you become, and the more touch points you have with your audience, which is really important.
Love it. What are some of these video tools that you've been using? What other company names and stuff that way?
So VO3, which is a Google product, is one of the best out there right now. But
does that come free with it if you're on Google Suites? If you're on G Suites, does that come free with it?
It can. There's different tiers of all of that, but yes, it can. And then there's a lot of tools out there that kind of aggregate all of the different video to, like Canva has VEO3 built in.
Yeah.
There's a lot of places to get to it without, going direct. So there's some
Cool.
really good platforms out there.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I love it. I always ask a couple questions as we wind down, called the kind of lightning round.
Sure.
What's maybe a book or a piece of technology that you've been using recently that's just been kind of a game changer, like a book you've read or technology you're using?
Oh, technology. Let's see. I would say one that I see not super well adopted yet, but is if you are still manually creating PowerPoints or slide decks, please give Gamma a try.
I love
You will
Gamma.
you will be mind blown about how quickly you can put together like customized sales presentations, right?
Yeah.
Like you can do that so quickly. So that's a tool that I think a lot of people don't know about. And it's mind blowing how quickly you can do those slide decks. Like we are way past needing to manually edit a PowerPoint now.
Yeah. I've used that for, pitching a group of investors,
Yeah,
and it was
yeah.
a investor grade pitch just from Gamma. And then I went in there and I added some of my own photos and stuff that way,
Sure.
but it was so quick. So
It is. And it honestly, I think it does a better design job than most of us, unless we are graphic designers, would ever do, manually ourselves in PowerPoint. So it
sure.
really, it can produce some really great on-brand visuals for you quickly.
Awesome. Do you have a book that you've read recently that you want to share?
I am rereading right now The 12-Week Year, which I have read previously and I really love. I used to be like a real year-end planner, but to the point of that book, a year is a really long cycle that you're likely to get off track, or if there's a failure point, now you're failing over the course of a whole year and not quicker. And so I really like this like 12-week implementation system of like breaking it down, and then you reset, and that way you're always working towards something. And if it's gonna not work or it's gonna fall apart, you're gonna find out a lot quicker, which I think is really relevant.
Yeah, I think the quotes are, you overestimate what you can do in a year, but you underestimate what you can do in a month or 3 months. So
absolutely.
Well, that's great. Now, is there anything that I should have asked that I didn't?
I don't know. I would say, the one thing I kind of harp on a lot about AI, and that I would just advise any business owner, is there's a huge difference between trained AI tools and out of the box ChatGPT or Claude. If you're using those tools and you're like, I'm asking it to write social media posts and it's giving me really generic, it doesn't sound like me, it's because you haven't trained it. And that goes for something as simple as social media content all the way up to obviously your client facing tools. So if you feel like AI just isn't getting it right, or you're constantly arguing with ChatGPT, or you're like, this is more work to prompt than it is to write it myself, then I encourage you to look into how you train those tools, because that is truly the biggest game changer right there.
That's great advice. Great advice there. Well, cool. Jen, I know, like I said before, people are watching and listening to the show and they're thinking, holy smokes, I got to get a hold of her. So if people are thinking that, and they don't want to do all the AI implementation on their own, what's the best way to get a hold of you?
Yeah, so definitely, go to my website. There's obviously a, book a call link. You can get to me directly, and I'm always happy to just kind of chat through some options and see where you're at. I also have speaking of trained AI tools, I have essentially a growth strategist tool on my website that is trained on essentially all the questions I would ask you in a 30-minute, kind of consultation. And it'll take you through that same process a lot faster, and without 30 minutes of your personal time, and give you a bit of a, like, here's where to start. So if you do want to get on a call with me, we've already kind of got, we're ahead of the game. So I encourage that, as just like, if you're kind of AI curious or not sure if it's the right fit for your business, give that growth tool a try, because it'll give you kind of a good benchmark for like where you're at and what's possible. But then again, I'm always happy to chat personally as well.
I love it. It's been fantastic. And I'm sure there's going to be people calling and getting a lot out of this episode. So I appreciate your time, Jen, and spending with us today. So
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
yeah. And as always, everyone else, be happy, be grateful, find opportunities to serve others, and have a fantastic week. Adios. That's it for today's Idaho Business Podcast. Hopefully you learned something new. And if you didn't, I've got a cheat code for you. Go to theidahobusinesspodcast.com, enter your email, and get my 20 golden rules for business. It's packed with my best advice, plus it's free. Subscribe, leave a review, share this with a friend. Until next time, keep hustling, keep laughing, and keep Idaho awesome.